I met Zara the way most college roommates meet, through a random housing assignment and a rushed hello at the door of our tiny shared room. She walked in wearing a white t-shirt, ripped jeans, hair tied in a loose ponytail, and a smile that made the space feel brighter than the cheap yellow bulb hanging above us. I noticed her beauty instantly. Anyone would. But it felt like admiration, nothing more. Or so I thought. Zara was the type of girl whose presence softened everything around her. She laughed easily, offered help without thinking twice, and had this habit of brushing her hair away from her face in a way that made you want to watch her forever. She was straight, she mentioned it casually while showing me pictures of her ex-boyfriends, and that single detail made her feel like someone I could admire safely, like a beautiful painting I could appreciate without touching. We became comfortable quickly. The kind of comfortable where you talk while brushing your teeth, lounge around in mismatched pajamas, and share snacks during late-night study sessions. She left little marks of herself everywhere, her mint-scented shampoo, her soft sweaters draped over the chair, her music humming softly at night. Somewhere in those first few weeks, something subtle shifted in me. I started noticing too much. The warmth of her body when she sat close. The way her voice softened when she said my name. The scent of her vanilla lotion lingering in the air. Ordinary things, yet they felt heavier, sweeter, strangely magnetic. But I told myself it was normal. Girl friendships could be intense, right? It didn't have to mean anything. Then one night, during midterm stress, she fell asleep on my bed while talking to me. Her hand rested on mine, her breath warm against my wrist. I lay frozen, feeling her heartbeat where her body lightly touched mine. Something awakened in that stillness. Something unfamiliar. Something forbidden. Something I didn't dare name. By mid-semester, our routines blended so effortlessly it felt like we had lived together forever. Zara became my comfort. My safe space. My gentle chaos. But with each passing day, my feelings bloomed in messy, unstoppable ways. It began with noticing the small things. The freckles on her nose. The way her lips curved when she listened carefully. The warmth in her eyes when she found something funny. She had this habit of talking while pacing, waving her hands dramatically. Watching her made something flutter deep in my stomach. I started liking her stories not for their content but for how animated she became while telling them. At first, I hid it well. Or I thought I did. But then came the night she returned from a party wearing a silver dress that clung a little too perfectly to her curves. Her cheeks were pink, her hair slightly tousled, her eyes glittering. "You're still up?" she asked, smiling widely. "How was the party?" I managed to ask, trying not to stare at her collarbone. "Boring without you," she said, dramatically flopping onto my bed. The words hit me harder than they should have. She kept talking about the music, the people, someone hitting on her. I tried to stay unaffected, but jealousy bit unexpectedly sharp. What right did I have to feel that? None. Absolutely none. She was straight. She liked men. She was my roommate. My friend. My everything, but never mine. Yet, the more I tried to bury the desire, the more it grew. One evening, while studying on the floor, she leaned her head on my shoulder. Something inside me cracked open. The warmth of her cheek, the weight of her body against mine, my breath caught. "Are you okay?" she asked, lifting her head slightly. "Yeah," I lied. "Just tired." She smiled and rested her head back, completely unaware of the war she had started inside me. I began avoiding her without meaning to, going out for long walks, studying in the library instead of our room, pretending to be busy. If desire was the spark, love was the slow, burning fire that followed. It started the week Zara fell sick. A harsh flu hit her so badly she could barely get out of bed. I had never seen her so weak, her usual brightness dulled, her voice barely above a whisper. "Can you stay?" she asked one morning, her fingers curled loosely around my wrist. That one request changed everything. I spent the entire week looking after her, cooking soup, changing cold cloths on her forehead, holding her hair back when she felt nauseous. She would grip my hand, whispering, "Thank you. I don't know what I'd do without you." And every time she said that, something inside me surrendered a little more. One night, when her fever spiked, she shivered uncontrollably. I climbed into her bed without thinking, wrapping my arms around her to steady her shaking. "You're warm," she murmured, pressing her face into my chest. I stroked her hair, heart pounding painfully. "Just sleep, Zara. I'm here." Her breathing slowly evened out, her body relaxing into mine. I held her through the night, memorizing the way she fit perfectly against me. It felt like the most right and most forbidden thing I had ever done. When she finally recovered, she hugged me tightly. "No one's ever taken care of me like that," she whispered. And I knew I was in trouble. Because caring for her didn't feel platonic anymore. It felt intimate. Tender. Dangerous. She started relying on me in ways that blurred lines further. Late-night talks. Emotional confessions. Lying on my lap while scrolling through her phone. Braiding her hair because she liked the way my fingers felt. She had no idea what she was doing to me. Or maybe she did. And ignored it. Or liked the attention. Or simply trusted me in ways she didn't trust others. But I couldn't stop. I didn't want to. Love isn't a decision, it's a surrender. And I was already falling too hard to catch myself. It happened on a rainy Friday. We were stuck indoors, wrapped in blankets, watching a movie on my laptop. The storm outside made the room feel small, intimate, hushed. Zara rested her head on my shoulder, and I tried to act normal despite my heartbeat drumming like thunder. Halfway through the movie, the power went out. The room plunged into darkness, except for the dim city lights filtering through the window. Zara shifted, turning toward me. "Now what?" she whispered, her voice unusually soft. "We wait," I said. She moved even closer, her knees touching mine. I could feel her breath, warm against my face. "You know," she began slowly, "I've never felt this comfortable with anyone before." My throat tightened. "Zara. No, listen." She took my hand, tracing circles on my palm. "You're the only person who makes me feel safe. The only person I can be messy around. The only one I want to come home to." My pulse stumbled. This wasn't friendship. Not anymore. "Zara," I whispered again, because I didn't know what else to say. She leaned in, not fully, but close enough that her lips hovered near mine. Close enough to feel her warmth, her uncertainty, her want. "Does this feel weird to you?" she asked softly. I exhaled shakily. "It feels dangerous." She swallowed. "But, do you feel it too?" I froze. She felt it? This closeness? This pull? Her fingers tightened around mine. "Because when I'm with you, I don't feel straight." The world shifted, sharply, violently, beautifully. I cupped her cheek, barely touching. "Are you sure?" "I don't know," she whispered. "But I want to know." And in that fragile, rain-soaked moment, she kissed me. Soft. Tentative. Searching. I kissed her back because I could not, because every part of me had been waiting, breaking, longing for this. She pulled away slowly, breathing hard. "What does this mean?" she whispered. I didn't know. But I knew one thing. Everything had changed. And there was no going back. The days after the kiss were a blur of tension and unspoken questions. Zara acted normal, too normal, as if she was trying to convince herself the kiss had been accidental, meaningless. But the way she looked at me said otherwise. Her glances lingered. Her touches became hesitant but frequent. Her voice softened when she said my name. One evening, she finally broke. "Can we talk?" she asked, sitting cross-legged on her bed, twisting her fingers nervously. "Yeah," I said, heart pounding. She took a deep breath. "I'd been thinking about that night." "So have I." "I don't regret it," she said quickly. "But I'm scared." "Of what?" "Of wanting more." She looked down. "Of wanting you." My breath caught. "Zara. I've spent my whole life thinking I was straight," she said helplessly. "And then you happened. And everything feels confusing and right at the same time." I moved to sit beside her. "You don't have to label anything." "But I need to understand it," she whispered. She reached for my hand again, her anchor, her comfort, and our fingers intertwined naturally. She hesitated. "I want to explore this. Slowly. With you. If you want that too." I looked at her, at the vulnerability in her eyes, the tremble in her voice, the hope she tried to hide. "I've wanted you for so long," I confessed quietly. Her eyes widened, then softened. "Then why didn't you tell me?" "Because you were straight." She let out a small, nervous laugh. "Maybe I never was. Maybe I just never met someone who made me question it." We sat in silence until she leaned into me, resting her forehead against mine. "Can I kiss you again?" she asked. This time, I didn't hesitate. The kiss was deeper, warmer, filled with all the feelings we had been swallowing for weeks. She climbed into my lap, her arms around my neck, her lips eager and unsure. My hands held her waist, pulling her closer, feeling her melt into me. What followed wasn't perfect, it was real. Zara needed time. She asked questions, voiced fears, wrestled with labels she didn't know how to wear. Some days she clung to me eagerly, other days she recoiled into confusion. But always, she returned. Our love unfolded slowly, like a sunrise, hesitant at first, then warm, then undeniable. We held hands under blankets during movie nights. She kissed me good morning before she realized she had done it. She began sleeping in my bed more often than her own. One night, as she lay with her head on my chest, she whispered, "You changed everything for me." "How?" I asked. "You made me understand that love isn't about who we think we should want, it's about who we can't stop wanting." I kissed the top of her head. "And who do you want?" "You," she said simply. "Only you." Months later, when we finally decided to call it what it was, love, she laughed and said, "Who knew my straight roommate would become the girl I fall for?" "You weren't straight," I teased. "Maybe not," she said, smiling. "Maybe my heart was just waiting for you." And mine had been waiting for her. Because what began as care grew into desire, deepened into longing, and finally blossomed into love. A slow, gentle, breathtaking awakening. A love I never expected. A love she never imagined. A love that changed us both. From care to desire. From roommates to lovers. From confusion to clarity. We found something rare. We found each other.